This is the worst podcast I've ever been on.
These guys are shit. It's true. It's true.
This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Hard-Traveling Fanboys, 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 Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the L-shaped studio right here in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, in luxurious and serene Ho-Ho Loon Plaza. I am Greg Phillips. With me, as always, on my journey through life, is my co-host, Nick Duke. We are the Hard-Traveling Fanboys. Nick, how are you today?
I'm okay. I just, as we'll discuss here during the course of the show, I spent the last couple hours of my life doing something that I didn't think I would ever do again, and I can't say that I'm better for the experience.
I did something a little bit earlier than that I have never done before, and I certainly am no better for the experience. But let's quit beating around the bush, as they say, shall we, Nick? Let's get right to the heart of the matter. Just like Don Henley once sang, I've been trying to get to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter in this case is our second episode of a series that we've actually renamed at the suggestion of the manager, Todd Weber. It is a show that was once called Fix It or Forget It and now has the much catchier name. I can see it on shirts right now. Fix It or Nix It. Huh? I think we need to go to Pro Wrestling Tees right now, Nick, and put that.
We're not pro wrestlers, though. I think that's I'm pretty sure that's a prerequisite for the Pro Wrestling Tees gimmick.
All right, well, then let's go to freecomicbookpodcasttees.com, and folks can get out there and buy some of our gimmicks.
Mm-hmm.
You like that idea, Nick?
I like it. Does this website actually exist?
Not yet. But with sheer willpower and imagination, we can make it happen. Kind of like how if a loved one dies in a prominent manner at the hands of another assassin, we can bring them back through sheer willpower, imagination, and dedication to the forces of Harry Carey.
Well, no, we can't do that. We just leave and go on about our business, and then kind of later on just kind of think, hey, maybe she's not dead after all, but then we never actually check up on that or anything, and some other guy who wasn't shown at all during the movie comes along and brings her back to life.
That's right. That's yes. You see, our topic today is not Harry Carey. It's not even Kamehameha waves. It's the ancient art of kimaguri and how it relates to the resurrection of the subject of today's program, Elektra. That's right. We have gone back and we have reviewed, or in my case, viewed for the very first time, the 2005 Jennifer Garner vehicle, Elektra, which was the sort of sequel of sorts to the much-discussed Ben Affleck Daredevil movie from 2000 and, what was it, 2 or 3?
3.
2003. So it's 2 years after that movie came out. It was made a good deal of money. And this one, though, is directed by Rob Bowman, a gentleman who was directing his first and I believe only superhero film to this point. And it came out amidst a wave of popularity for Jennifer Garner. She was a big star on TV's Alias. She was coming out of being considered one of the breakout stars of the Daredevil movie itself. So here we see her getting her first shot, as far as I can recall, Nick, at being a lead in a movie, and or at least an action movie. I think she had done 13 going on 30 before this, which was a big hit. But this guy has directed Elektra. He directed, it says here, Reign of Fire, which is a movie I do remember with Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale. and he directed apparently the original X-Files movie, and a movie called Airborne that starred Shane McDermott, Seth Green, and a bunch of other people that I've never heard of.
Well, there you are.
So Elektra comes out on the wave of Daredevil. We should probably remind people what the premise of this show is, by the way. This is not off the page. It's not off the page. We simply offer a review of the movie, tell you whether we liked it or we didn't like it, and that's that. This is a show where we attempt to fix the very worst of the worst. We take a look at the worst comic book movies, according to critics and audiences, of all time. And we try to determine if there is anything in this movie that can be salvaged. If there was any way to take the foundation that these movies were built upon and make them into something better. We started with Jonah Hex, a movie that we determined could have been made better with some fairly major alterations to it that happened both fundamentally as well as tinkering with the way the movie was put together. This is an entirely different challenge altogether, because I would suggest, Nick, that while Jonah Hex was a very bad movie, it does not come close to touching the level of bad that this movie is. Would you agree?
I would certainly agree with that. I don't know. Jonah Hex, it's tough. It's tough. I think there are moments in each of them where one surpasses the other. But in terms of consistent badness from beginning to end, it's certainly this. I have said for many years, this film is oft compared to another from this era, and that, of course, being Catwoman, starring Halle Berry, which I have never actually seen the whole way through. This I have seen before, and for the longest period of time, I have considered this the worst comic book movie I've ever seen.
Very interesting, Nick. I'm curious how how it held up on your rewatch from an overall perspective.
That's funny.
So not well is what you're getting at.
No, God, no. Like, if this was bad in 2005, I'm like, we're watching it through 2019 eyes when we have good superhero movies that come out like every other month now. God,
yes.
This is just a train wreck from beginning to end.
Well, let's talk about that. So, Elektra is obviously about the character Elektra Natchios, the assassin from Marvel Comics, the on-again, off-again lover and enemy of Daredevil, who also has run afoul and also been aligned with the Hand. It was very, very loosely based on the comic book work of Frank Miller, who is actually given credit in this movie for comic book characters. That's what he's credited for in this movie. Mark Steven Johnson, actually, the guy that directed Daredevil, receives credit for, quote, motion picture characters, whatever that means. And
it means the bastardized version of these characters that has nothing to do with the Frank Miller version of the characters.
So let's get to the overall, the many, many myriad problems with this film.
God.
The screenplay by Zach Penn, Stuart Zickerman, and Raven Metzner is just all over the place, Nick. That was one thing I noticed watching this movie. We talked about when I was halfway through it, and I said, the beginning of this movie, the first 5 to 10 minutes, is pretty good. I was like, this could be the start of an interesting movie by early 2000s comic book movie standards. And then it just jumps off a rail. It's like you've got partly a ninja movie, partly an assassin going for one last score kind of movie, partly a family, drama, partly a kung fu remake of She's Studying Under the Old Master, partly a supernatural thriller with these weird beast visions she keeps having throughout the movie, and part CGI train wreck. Is that a fair thing to say, Nick, that this movie is attempting to seemingly be 5 or 6 different things at once?
Yes, absolutely. It's fair to say that. There are a lot of different routes you could have gone with this. You could have gone with a martial arts film, which one would argue might have been the most appropriate approach. And of course, I think there are actually 2 hand-to-hand Elektra fight scenes in the entire movie.
Yep.
You could have gone with
there's 3. One of which is with the child.
Yes, you could have. God, the child. You could have gone with, a revenge thriller of Elektra wanting to come back and get her revenge on the people who have wronged her in a past life. Lots of different directions you could have gone. You could have focused entirely on the war between whatever the forces that Stick leads are called, because I've forgotten.
I don't know that they ever actually explained it, what they were called.
They don't. And instead they choose to go a variety of different, all these different directions, and then throw in also an Elektra finding a family subplot without ever really explaining why she's looking for a new love interest when things between her and Daredevil or things between her and Matt Murdock were essentially fine before she was murdered by Bullseye. So why do they never seek each other out after she came back to life?
Especially when she appears to be set up in the same city, right?
In New York, yeah.
She appears to be set up after she's come back to life as doing an assassin thing. Where is Daredevil?
That's my favorite part of this movie is, like, she apparently is able to go to buildings that are just like old feudal Japan style buildings that are built on top of skyscrapers, and nobody seems to notice that. Oh, look at that! There's an old feudal Japan building on top of a skyscraper. No big deal, right?
And so, okay. One of the first visions that this movie has gone awry is at the very beginning, because rather than pick us up on the heels of Daredevil, where, remember, we should remind the folks listening, she was actually killed in the movie Daredevil by the assassin Bullseye.
Bullseye, yep.
And in this movie, when we start, she's alive and assassinating people again, taking contracts to go out and kill folks and doing it stealthily. And admittedly, probably the best scene in the entire movie, actually, is that opening scene where she infiltrates the building and ends up killing the old crime boss who has had the hit put out for him. I thought that was actually a really good scene. But that's the very first scene in the movie. And then right after that, it's not explained to us how she came back to life or why she came back to life. All of that's shown to us in very brief flashbacks. Like, she's on a boat and she's thinking back and she remembers this old dude who we're not told who he is, bringing her back to life and telling her that she's got a pure heart or something, and just moving his hands around her body. She comes back to life in this vision, and then she's back in the present day. So that's all they've done. They haven't built it up. They haven't given us a story reason. They haven't told us who this guy was. They haven't told us what happened after she came back to life. Just that she flashes back to doing some martial arts training under Stick, who in this movie is played by comic book movie legend Terrence Stamp, who played General Zod in Superman 2. And there's never any connective tissue to show us how she got from where she was to where she is now and why we should care. I thought it was an incredibly lazy approach to making this movie. And frankly, Nick, it makes it awfully hard to even go about the task of trying to fix this thing.
Yes, because by tying it to Daredevil, you are building upon a foundation. And there's a whole other episode in whether or not that's a good foundation to build upon, and I think you and I are probably a bit kinder to it than a lot of people are, but that's neither here nor there. But if you're going to build upon that foundation, then you actually have to use the foundation that's there. Explain to us what the hell happened. Why is she now contract killing instead of... It just... All these wild shifts in her personality and unexplained time jumps from the last time we saw her, it stretches belief as an audience member.
It's like they wanted to do a comic book version of Elektra, but also were beholden to be tied into the Daredevil version of Elektra, but also wanted to do this. They thought they needed to spruce it up and make it more exciting because it wouldn't be exciting enough on its own. So we need to include supernatural monsters. We need to include disappearing ninjas that turn into clouds of yellow dust.
The hand that turns into dried urine clouds whenever they die.
I'm pretty sure that every time I return home to the cats that are at my mom's place, I'm pretty sure I see deceased hand members all over the house at various times. But yes, so you're trying to tie it into two things that can't inherently be tied together. You can't get directly to cold-blooded assassin Elektra from the person that we met in the Daredevil movie. So you have to give us a reason to get there. They don't do that. They skip that process. So I think, my first thing, if I were going to try to fix this movie, I would keep the tone of the beginning of the movie, where she's this assassin that infiltrates people. However, I would pick up directly.
Here it is. I'm watching the movie, by the way. Here it is, this feudal Japan building built on top of a skyscraper, and nobody seems to find this odd or noteworthy.
Well, it's kind of like on the television show Gotham, when everybody had.
And here's my other issue. Here's my other issue with this movie. So one of your aspects of the movie is going to be you're going to tell the story about Stick's organization fighting the Hand or whatever. Okay, I'm cool with that. You need to tell me you got the guy that played freaking Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat, and you're only going to use him in like 2 scenes?
Yep.
Cary Tagawa? Like, this guy should have been the main villain of the movie instead of this douchebag kid of his.
Yeah, he's woefully underutilized. I mean, really, but this is the same movie, Nick, that uses Jason Isaacs in an uncredited role as the crime boss at the beginning of the movie who gets killed. Like, Jason Isaacs, who is a damn fine actor and could certainly have been given a more prominent role in the film, is wasted right from the get-go. And I think that's kind of what I would like to see is more of that stuff with the crime boss at the beginning, the Elektra as an assassin, and then showing us, even if you show us through flashbacks, how she got to this point, and telling the story, slowly and patiently of how she came back to life. First of all, that's the most important thing. I can't stress that enough. You have to pick it up at the end of the Daredevil movie, and you have to show us how her body even ended up in the possession of Stick, how he brought her back to life, why he brought her back to life, what she did in the interim, and how she became this contract killer. That's an interesting story.
And of course, the most important part of that is you have to tell us how she met her annoying-ass agent.
Yes,
who,
McCabe.
for some unknown reason, plays a major role in this movie.
Yes, his name is McCabe, played by Colin Cunningham. And
he sucks.
Well, and the other thing is, he ultimately plays no factor in the movie, because, like, he not no factor, he plays a big factor in the movie, but his characterization is so off, because he does not seem like the kind of guy that would willingly allow himself to die to protect this family. And yet, randomly, because the script calls for it, the character decides, you know what, I'm going to help Elektra get this family to safety and know that I'm going to die immediately.
Right.
And don't even get me started on how Bob Sapp's character has impervious skin that rejects bullets, that breaks Elektra's size. And you know how he dies, Nick?
By getting hit with a tree. And I can explain that one. He's actually distantly related to the Green Lanterns from DC, where he has a weakness to both yellow and wood. So when he dies, when he gets hit with wood, he turns into a yellow cloud and dies.
Yes. That makes some level of sense. I'm pretty sure that's what the screenwriters were thinking here with Bob Sapp's indestructible man that gets killed by a tree falling on him. Stone
is his name.
Ugh. What a late... Because as I was watching, I'm thinking, how the hell are they going to have Elektra kill this guy? I'm not thinking... He's pretty much Luke Cage, right? But
she hit him with a tree.
Exactly.
She hit him with a tree.
So, anyway, so I think that you've got to tell the story, and granted, you said there's a lot of different ways you can go with, and I think an easy way to explain what causes Elektra to sort of break good again is her old mentor, Stick, gets in a bind, where the Hand decide to come after them. Then that's when you can explain this backstory of the war, why Stick brought her back, why he exiled her, and all that stuff. Then she has to go back to help Stick and his people fight off the Hand, or join the Hand. And that's kind of the isn't that ultimately what it always comes down to with Elektra? Whose side is she on? Which side is she going to choose? Right. We don't get that in this movie. And so I think that's probably a good way to go about it. What do you think, Nick? What would be your right? Is there, if you're challenged to try to come up with a way to salvage this thing, what would be the first thing you would do?
Well, they left Bullseye alive at the end of Daredevil, so like, isn't the natural story here her going for revenge on the person that killed her?
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't even.
If you want to go with
the
take
alive,
of,
to be honest with you.
Yeah, because remember we get the awesome mid-credit scene of him killing a fly with a straw or something because he's in the full body cast in the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
And he flips the stupid thing. Anyway, I would think that would be a natural route to go. Get a little bit more of the Colin Farrell Bullseye.
Or hell, they could tie them together and have it revealed that the Hand have contracted with Bullseye, and that draws Elektra back into the whole battle between the Hand and Stick's nameless people.
Right. I mean, again, I keep saying, if you want to be a sequel, I need a little bit more continuation of that story, I think is where I'm going.
Certainly.
Also, no matter which route you do go, you don't need, like, and I say this as someone who's a big fan of, in particular, a film that I think that tries to do something similar and does it to an infinite degree better than this one. I love the film Logan, and I love the idea of Logan as this unwitting parent. You can do that dynamic and do it well, and there's probably a version of an Elektra movie with her in this unwitting motherly type role to a young girl who reminds her of herself that could have turned out well. This movie is not it, and again, I think 99% of the issues here come back to the script, which is bad. The writing is obvious and wooden. The performers aren't great, but they're doing the best they can with, Star Wars prequel level dialogue here. It is just brutal. And this dynamic between Elektra and this young girl, Abby, I'm sorry, man, it just fell completely flat.
Yeah, no, and it's not like you said. I was going to point that out. I think the cast here is pretty good. I think Jennifer Garner is good as Elektra. I've always liked her as Elektra.
The dad is really bad.
The dad is terrible.
That's
yes. Goran Visnik is his name. He plays Mark Miller. Not good. Very, very. He feels like an actor that would be on a sci-fi movie, like a Sci-Fi Channel movie.
Absolutely.
Terrence Stamp as Stick is great. No issues there. Kristen Prout as Abby is fine. As child actors go, I think she's convincing. She doesn't seem like a bad actress or anything. And she and Garner are fine. Will Yun Lee as Kirigi is fine. Of course, you have Roshi, who's badly misused. And then there's McCabe, who's not good. Colin Cunningham as McCabe. I think there's aspects of the cast here that work. But here's another thing that I think would help. Instead of these ninja assassins that disappear into a cloud of yellow urine, you can have your regular hand soldiers and just have them be regular hand soldiers. And you can keep the part. I don't mind the part where Kirigi, or whatever his name is, has this collection of weird freaks that work for him. Where you got Bob Sapp as Stone, Natasha Malth as Typhoid, a version of Typhoid Mary. You've got Chris Ackerman as Tattoo. I would drop completely, by the way. I thought the tattoo scenes.
Yeah, but they used Tattoo to move the plot of the movie to explain. Like, he was almost essential to explaining how the villains found them at various points.
Which I just. There's just no getting around how bad that CGI was on him.
Yes.
CGI snakes.
How bad the CGI in the entire movie was.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Ideally, if you're making an Elektra movie, you shouldn't have to have that much CGI, in my opinion.
I agree.
You can do a lot of martial arts battles and things of that nature.
You don't need dying, like a version of Typhoid Mary that literally kills all the plant life as she walks by. Like, you just don't need this dumb stuff.
Oh, speaking of,
it should have been a relatively grounded revenge thriller.
Speaking of dumb stuff, I hated every single time she would start meditating in the movie. Every single time when she would flash to like the white room of her childhood, and she'd see a demon coming in and murdering her mother and leaving, and then it turns out at the end of the movie, shock of shocks, that the demon was Kirigi. The whole thing.
I'm glad you know that guy's name.
Yeah, I hated every single time they would do that. It was hokey. It was dumb. And the first time they do it, I think, is when she jumps into the water on the island, and then she comes up, and she's no longer on the island. She's in a swimming pool, and then she goes back down, and when she comes back up again, she's a little girl again, and she's seeing her dad. It felt like the most artsy, pretentious bullshit to throw into an Elektra movie. What did you think?
Absolutely. Agreed wholeheartely. There's an interesting backstory here with Elektra.
Yes.
There's an interesting way to tell it. This is not it.
Right. I think, at the risk of being too plain, more linear storytelling would probably help in this case. Giving us a reason to care about Elektra as a character. Maybe you start the movie when she's a child, and then you flash forward to the events that happened in Daredevil and show us as she's brought back to life. Or do that in reverse, whatever. But, we have to have a reason to get to know and love this character on her own, apart from the Daredevil movie. And a central plot, not 7 different villains, not, is she a surrogate mother for Abby? Like you said, there's probably a way to tell the Elektra and Abby story that works. We even saw a lesser version of that, I think, in the Thomas Jane Punisher movie, where he goes to befriend his neighbors and stuff like that. And that one worked for me. but like, this is not the way to do it. Elektra is way too quick in this movie to switch into friendly motherly role, in my opinion. Like, I think that if Elektra is hard around the edges and over the course of an entire movie, this family wears on her and starts to appeal to her humanity by the end of it, I could probably get behind that. I think that's a way to approach it as well. Jettison the supernatural stuff, and then maybe you can include that. I would personally probably save that stuff for a sequel if I were going to do that story, because I think, like you said, a revenge story would be simple and to the point here, or tell the Hand story and involve her in that. But if you wanted to do the Abby story, then tell that story, but be patient with it and show us a character arc. There's really no character arc here for Elektra, except that, you know, what is she at the end of the movie? Is she no longer an assassin? I don't know. She just walks off. With, you know, I don't know what the difference is.
Nobody really says what she's going to do. You would think if she was going to find a new life, she would stay with these people who she's clearly developed a bond with. Yes. And it's also, to get into like kind of the movements of this Abby subplot, we eventually find out that Abby is
the treasure.
This being of import, this prophesied being known as the Treasure, who is going to be a valuable weapon in the war between Styx people and the Hand. And yet, we find it out halfway through the movie where Abby has done nothing but just run away the entire time, that she's a very skilled fighter. Like, where does that come from? Why is that not addressed sooner in the movie?
Where did she get her training? You know, because we also hear that Typhoid Mary was the treasure when she was a child. Is this passed on from generation to generation? It's not entirely clear, because remember, there's maybe that's only in the director's cut, but there's a line when Typhoid is about to kill Abby in the garden when she says, "I was the treasure once, and I don't like being replaced." So how does that work?
I don't know.
Because that's another thing we should mention, people. Nick watched the theatrical version. I watched the director's cut. There's only 3 minutes of difference between the two, and neither is any good. So, I think if you're recrafting this as a more straightforward narrative, jettisoning the 5 different tons. One of the things that we seem to be finding in this series so far, Nick, I think we saw it in Jonah Hex as well, is it's a problem when a movie can't decide what it is.
Right.
Where it tries to serve 6 different masters at the same time. I think that whenever we get to that point, we'll see that with the Joel Schumacher Batman movies as well, where it's seemingly trying to serve many different audiences, and in the process serving none. And I feel like that's the case here. Again, it's not a problem with the character of Elektra. The character of Elektra is interesting. You can do an interesting story.
Well, it perhaps is an issue with this version of the character of Elektra. Like, again, I'm mostly okay with them trying to build off the foundation laid by the 2003 Daredevil movie, but a lot of people probably would not be, and I can certainly understand that point of view.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I can as well, but I think that this is. I liked Elektra in Daredevil, and I like Jennifer Garner's portrayal of Elektra. It's just, frankly, this is such a bigger challenge than Jonah Hex. Like Jonah Hex, it was easy to say, focus on being a Western. Focus on the parts of this movie that work, which are the cast and the setting and things of that nature, and tell a more straightforward movie about Jonah versus Turnbull. With this, it's yes, we've kind of done that. We've said focus on the Hand, focus on revenge, on potentially if you could get Colin Farrell back to play Bullseye, focus on him. Maybe they couldn't get him back. I don't know, but what you can't do is what they do in this one, and I think this is gosh, if ever there was a movie for this show to say Nix It on, this would be it, because I just think this one is flawed foundationally in such a major way. Again, some of the cast is good, but ultimately, the movie, you'd have to rewrite the entire movie. You would have to point it towards a totally different destination than what they're going for, because I think clearly you have to have some acknowledgement of Daredevil in this movie, which there is none. There's a deleted scene that has Matt Murdock in it, come to her in a vision. By the way, I watched that deleted scene, and it sucks. So, but without even acknowledging what happened in that movie, then don't tie it to that movie. Just make an original Elektra movie. But they can't do that either. So I don't know, man. This is so challenged by what the studio wanted from this movie that I don't know how you fix it, really. Outside of, we've laid out some ideas there that you can do, but they're ideas that I don't think the studio would have gone for in 2005.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. They were dead set on connecting this to the 2003 Daredevil movie. They were dead set on having this weird scattershot approach. And if you're not going to be able to get away from those things, I don't think this movie can be fixed.
One of the central problems, Nick, that I think we've talked about in the past with something like the Green Lantern movie, similarly maligned at times, although much better than this movie. But a similar problem in that movie studios for a long time labored under the pretension that movies had to be centered on Earth to be interesting, which is what we saw with the Green Lantern movie. They also labored under the pretension that audiences needed to have a feel-good, lovey-dovey hero at the center of the movie. That the hero, the central hero, had to be humanized in a major way. They had to have, a heart of gold, and they had to be a family person. They had to, they had to have a love interest. They had all this other stuff that audiences would not accept just a standalone hero on their own. And we saw that many, many times over in comic book films. And I think that ultimately rears its ugly head here. Yeah,
I would definitely agree. This version of this goes back to what we said at the beginning of the movie. The screenplay has Elektra suddenly changing her motivation and her outlook on things for no other reason than to force in this convenient family narrative about midway through. Mm-hmm. And again, it's probably in that misguided attempt at humanization that, I think some humanization of Elektra, again, can be possible in a movie, just not done this way because the script is terrible, and the characters that she's supposedly humanizing for the most part, aren't really likable.
No, I think a better version of what they're trying to do with that would simply be she comes back to life and she's hell-bent on revenge. She's angry at the world. She wants to kill everything in her sight, and the movie is about Stick trying to get through to her. Stick trying to reach the person inside, the human inside, underneath the monster. And then maybe by the end of the movie, you can have Stick get through to her and her have a moment of humanity where she comes through on the other end and she's fully healed from coming back from the dead. Sort of like what happens when people go into the Lazarus Pit in DC. But, again, too many different masters to serve here. So I don't know about you, Nick. I'm going to go Nix It on this one because the fixing it is just, it would just be a very difficult.
We have to come up with some sort of threshold for actually fixing things, because you could conceivably rewrite this from the ground up and fix it. But does that really fall within the the realistic purview of a fix it?
It's not as simple as something like if we ever do the Green Lantern movie. I think there are simple fixes in that movie that could make it a good movie. There are the fixes that would turn this into, and we're the stuff that I've laid out and you've laid out of things that you could do different here. That's just trying to make a baseline decent movie. Making a good movie is something totally different, and that for this movie I think would have just been impossible with what they were going into it with, the challenges they were facing and the challenges they foisted upon themselves based on the idiotic thinking of the time. So ultimately, folks, if you got any ideas for how Elektra could have been done better, let us know. Reach out to us on Twitter at gphillips8652, at Nick Duke 87. Go to the Place to Be Nation comics page on Facebook and let us know your thoughts there of what changes you would have made to Elektra to improve it, to make it a better movie. I think we laid out some good ideas here today, but ultimately failed in our mission. So let us know your thoughts on this film. If you liked the movie somehow, tell us what you liked about it. I doubt we'll find anybody that did. And, is this, another question would be, is this a character that should be revisited on film? Should they try another Elektra movie at some point, or should they just give up on it at this point, or just tie her into a future team movie of some kind? I don't know. We'll get to that at another time. I would argue also, by the way, while we're here, Nick, that I was not even a huge fan of the TV version of Elektra. I thought she was okay, but never really, at least I only saw in season 2 of Daredevil. But I also, I thought they were a little wishy-washy with her character. So I don't know. Maybe it is a character problem. I don't know.
Don't know. Maybe we'll have to read some Elektra-related comics.
I think we should read Elektra Assassin at some point, because we've heard a lot of praise for that one over the years. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will have the rundown and assorted other things.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
PlayStation Nation's JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have over 24 podcasts available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlayStation.com. We now offer them to you on 2 great feeds. On the PlayStation Nation Wrestling feed, we dive into topics running the gamut from today's WWE to the glory days of yesteryear and the ins and outs of the territory days. In addition to our full-length shows, we also deliver to you special pod blasts on topics old and new.
The Place to Be Nation Pop feed is a veritable treasure trove of great content. Offered tremendous shows covering the land of movies, television, life, comics, and sports, brought to you by the most knowledgeable and insightful folks in the podcast world.
You can find all these great shows, plus archives of our past podcasts from over the past 8 years as well by subscribing to both feeds on iTunes. And while you're there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others, available on PlayStation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth search projects, and much more. Be sure to support our site by using www.PlayStation.com/Amazon when doing your online shopping. We want to thank our friends at Boneheads Wing Bar, ProWrestlingOnly.com, and TheHistoryOfWrestling.com as well. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. PlayStation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hard-Traveling Fanboys. And there's a lot of stuff going on right now, as I understand it, Nick, in the world of Place to Be Nation. Tell us what's on tap from some of our friends and colleagues.
Yeah, on the pop feed, we are the Hard-Traveling Fanboys, of course, and most recently, what did we do, Greg? We did a countdown? I've already forgotten. What did we do last week?
What did we do last week? We did a countdown of, no, we did an Off the Page, didn't we?
We did, yeah, we watched that Batman Hush movie that wasn't very good. Go listen to that.
Yes.
You can tell it left an indelible mark in our minds. Flash Fact. Russell and Todd kick off Flash Month on DC4U with guests Greg Phillips and Ben Morse. This is a podcast that I know has been in the works for some time, so be sure to check it out and see if the amount of time that was spent planning it was worth it. A brand new show has joined the pop feed as siblings Kevin and Mary host the Brother-Sister Rewatch podcast. And on episode 16, they bring you The Office, Season 3, Episodes 3 and 4. Of course, because this is an audio form, you will not be able to see any shifting of any eyes. This Week in the NFL hits weekly with Roger and Johnny recapping the last set of games and previewing the forthcoming weekend's batch. Jennifer Smith invites Nate Milton to watch Jordan Peele's Get Out on the 13th episode of Freak Out Drive-In. On a new Looking Forward, Looking Back, host Andy Atherton is joined by, good Lord, Jennifer Smith, Tim Capel, and Scott Criscolo to preview the upcoming fall and winter movie releases. On the most recent episode of Marvel Age, the Sarcastic Four take a look at the first third of Marvel's 1972 output to include some significant horror title debuts. As a small screen companion to Pop Goes the Movies, enjoy the premiere episode of Pop Goes to the Couch, which spotlights the third season of Glow. And your hosts here are, of course, stop me if you've heard this one before, Jennifer Smith, Tim Capel, and JT Rosero. Then, on Geek and Sassy, Jennifer Smith and Miranda run down the comprehensive list of new and returning TV shows for the fall. Then, of course, on Talking Pop, we have Jennifer Smith and Tim Capel, joined by JT to talk weight loss, religion, and politics. Can't miss it. Meanwhile, the greatest song of the 80s tournament continues. Just a few rounds left. There will be 4 polls a day posted for round 4. You can get in on the action on Facebook by searching PTBN's greatest song of the 80s tournament and liking the page. Be sure to weigh in, and please note, none of your votes will be counted unless you actually vote for Real American. So go out there, vote for Real American, and then weigh in on all the other polls.
Well, let's see what's going on over at the wrestling feed, shall we?
Sure.
On the newest episode of the Place to Be podcast, Scott and JT welcome back Place to Be podcast legend Kelly Nelson to look at the final Madison Square Garden house show of the 1980s. For those of you that may not know, this would be 1989, the end of the 1980s. No Holds Barred is back. JT and Aaron are talking AEW, NXT UK, the Wednesday Night Wars, the Neville Brothers, and then play a game of Pulled and Pushed. That sounds interesting.
That's best left between 2 consenting adults in the privacy of their own home, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there.
I agree. Peter Winson and Steve Bennett wrap up their series breaking down their favorite all-time sports seasons in the Adams Division. On episode 22 of Row 1, Seat 1, Ben is joined by Cabana Man Dan to talk about his experience in over a decade in the wrestling business plus more. Greg, Jenny, and Jenny and Tim are back with Talk in WCW, and taking a deep dive. Shut up, Nick. I said it wrong. Talk in WCW and taking a deep dive on the ravishing.
That was a JR-like pronunciation of Talk in WCW.
Deep dive on the ravishing one. None other than Rick Rude. Be sure to...
Who I have it under... Now, tell me this, Greg. Were you guys able
I know what you're going to talk about. Don't talk about this.
Were you guys able to confirm or deny that Rick Rude is the father of Maria Kanellis' child?
Oh, wow. That's not where I thought you were going with that. I'm proud of you, Nick.
Where'd you think I was going with it?
I'll tell you off I'll tell you off air where I thought you were going with it.
Now, were you also able to confirm or deny any discussion of penis injections?
Damn it. I knew it. We recorded this show before Maria's child's father was revealed. Thank you very much. So we're not sure if it was Rick Rude at that time, although now it has been revealed that it was. And as far as what you were talking about, we're far too classy a show to talk about that. But yes, we talked about it. Every Wednesday on PlaceToBeNation.com, we've got the most interesting and unexpectedly funny stories on the World Wide Web in Glenn's Weekly Walk. For college football fans, Scott Criscolo and Logan Crosland have their weekly Campus Hot Takes, looking back at the previous week and looking ahead to the biggest matchups. Hey, Nick, does Tennessee still suck?
They do. They're playing Florida this weekend in what is one of my annual sinkhole games, where I wish the entire stadium would just be dropped into a sinkhole rather than either team having to win. There are multiple games like that this year, as Florida and Auburn are playing each other for the first time as well in some time. So they still suck, but hopefully they will be able to suck less this weekend. I don't know.
Maybe it'll be like the classic Auburn LSU game of 2016 where they both lost in a span of moments. So that could always happen.
Or what about the epic Auburn Mississippi State game of, I don't even remember what year, where Auburn won 3-2. That would be good.
Anyway, catch their weekly column every Tuesday afternoon. And if you're doing online shopping over at Amazon.com, be sure to click on the Amazon banner on the right side of the Place to Be Nation homepage. It takes you right to Amazon and helps out PTBN with no cost to you. I actually recently ordered John Madden Football. The original, I mean. Check out our social media pages and message board at bigelow34.proboards.com for information on joining our GWWE PPV and TV Match Ever project. Get in on the conversation today and start researching your lists. I don't know why I said it like that. All right, we're done with that, and now let's move on to the weekly look at news and notes in the world of comics. It's a segment known to Nickelback fans around the world as the Rundown.
Welcome to the Rundown.
Well, leading us off this week, Nick, news out of DC Comics. You heard about this one? Boy, it's a big one.
No, tell me more.
I will. I'll tell you exactly what I'm talking about right now. Turns out, Tim Drake, you remember that character? He doesn't seem to exist in any adaptations of Batman, but he's in the comics. Anyway, Tim Drake has a new code name, courtesy of your boy, Brian Michael Bendis. In the pages of Young Justice, the well-received Young Justice series from BMB, the former Robin and Red Robin is now going to be called simply Drake. That's right. Rapper extraordinaire Drake is now the secret identity, or rather the superhero identity, of young Timothy Drake. No, in fact, it's referring to both his surname and a male duck called a Drake, including the rather creative line of dialogue in which a character says, "It's one of the most dangerous birds. It's who I am." This is an alternate version of Tim, referring to himself as Drake.
Isn't a Drake just a duck?
Yes, it's just a male duck, as I just mentioned. So, yes, this is now Tim Drake's new code name, apparently. Hopefully there'll be a twist of some kind here, because Bendis is even kind of making fun of it on Twitter, retweeting people that are making fun of him for coming up with this code name. What are your thoughts on this, Nick? Not a great code name.
No, I would say it's terrible.
Not strong. Not strong is what we're getting at here. And speaking of things that arguably haven't always been strong, Frank Miller's Dark Knight universe, which started very strong with the legendary Dark Knight Returns, hit unique levels with the Dark Knight Strikes Again, and then continued with one that we haven't read yet, actually, Nick. The one that was, what was it, him and Azzarello?
Dark Knight 3, The Master Race. We have not, I haven't read that one yet. I read reviews that weren't overly negative. So, I think because he had Azzarello there, perhaps, to chip in a little bit and maybe temper some of his worst tendencies, perhaps it worked a little better. My understanding of this one that you're about to talk about, though, is that this is a Frank Miller original.
Frank Miller will return to the Dark Knight Returns continuity for, are you ready for this, folks? The Golden Child. That's right. Frank Miller is doing a graphic novel adaptation of the Eddie Murphy film The Golden Child from the 80s. If only. That's actually not what this is. What this is, rather, is
introducing Jonathan Kent into the Dark Knight continuity.
I apologize. I'm having some massive computer problems right now.
Yes. So this is a story that picks up where apparently at some point in the Dark Knight universe, we have seen visions of a future where both Batman and Superman have passed on, and now Supergirl, the new Supergirl, who I believe is actually the daughter of Superman, and Carrie Kelly have taken on the respective roles of the Superman or Supergirl and Batwoman of their universe, and it is a story about these two characters dealing with the emergence of Jonathan Kent as Superboy and how that all plays out.
Well, are you into this idea, Nick?
No.
I will say the artist on this, working with Frank Miller, has one of the great names in comics, Raphael Grandpa. Isn't that a great name?
Yeah, this is a good quote from Frank Miller. The possibilities for what he could be just started coming to mind like crazy. I thought the contrast between him and Laura, who by the way is the child of Superman and Wonder Woman in this continuity, could be really exciting. Laura has so much power and passion, and so for the little boy to embody all the wisdom and intelligence of the Kryptonian race would be an exciting new dimension. He really sort of developed as a little floating Buddha, someone who, when he wasn't even a toddler yet, was speaking in full sentences and had an understanding of events that surpassed anybody else's. He's the most magical member of the family.
The Golden Child, if you will.
Yes.
This is going to be an interesting Frank Miller project, clearly.
Yes.
Raphael Grandpa has a great name. He even draws the young, I see in the preview image here, the young baby Clark kind of looks a little bit like Hector Hammond. Elongated forehead.
Well, he looks kind of like that Alita Battle Angel movie is what he looks like to me.
I can see that too. But anyway, we don't know. One day we'll read The Dark Knight 3 and see if we like that, and then maybe we'll read The Golden Child after. I don't know. But boy, it doesn't look great. What did you ever hear about that Superman book that he did?
No, I tried not to hear anything about it. I intentionally avoided everything about it.
Fair enough. Hey, more news now on the world of DC Comics. Because
Chris Priest's Deathstroke series that has been around since the beginning of Rebirth is ending in December with number 50. I know this has been a personal favorite of yours.
Yes.
Well, what do you think here?
Well, I think people that I trust that we're still reading. I've been still collecting the book to the best of my ability, but I haven't read it in a long time. So as you know, I've been reading weekly comics, but I've been collecting this because I wanted to collect the entirety of the singles run. I don't have too many complete runs in my comic book fandom, and I wanted the complete run of this. Unfortunately, bullshit politics in the back of local comic book store has cut me off from my supply, so now it's going to be one of those where I'm going to have to hunt down the last few issues individually to finish my collection. But I will say it makes sense. 50 issues is a really good run for anybody on a book. Chris Priest is a great writer, and I think the question now becomes, what does Chris Priest move on to next? Does he move on to another DC property? Does he go back to Marvel? What does he do next? I know there's plenty of characters I'd love to see him get a swing at. I think he deserves a lot of credit for invigorating a Deathstroke solo title for the first time probably since Marv Wolfman in the early 90s. So credit to him. I enjoyed every issue that I read, and so I'm just curious to see what character he'll tackle next.
Yeah, I know that when he took the job on Deathstroke, he said he was tired of being pigeonholed as the writer of black characters. So I would imagine he will probably continue to try and avoid that in whatever he does next. But we shall see, I suppose.
Well, DC is just dropping lots of comic news recently because we got another one here. This one just came out this past week, this bit of news. Writers Brian Michael Bendis and Greg Rucka are about to unveil Superman to the world. What do we mean by that? Well, in a just-released solicitation for Lois Lane number 7 and in Superman number 18, Superman will, quote, reveal his identity to the world. While the Superman solicitation does not in itself spell that out, it does pretend to be the biggest change in the Man of Steel's life ever. Stop me if you've heard that before, Nick. This is going to be bigger than when he died. If you've been reading Superman comics, this is pretty nice from Newsroom. If you've been reading Superman comics a long time, you might say to yourself, but wait, didn't this already happen? Yes, it has. This has become a common thing in superhero comics, with everyone from Lois Lane to Candid Camera revealing it to the world. Most recently in Action Comics number 41 by Greg Pak and Aaron Cooter. However, this is a pretty bold move, much like it was when Marvel revealed Spider-Man's identity to the world in the mid-2000s, and
it'll be about as long-lived.
Right, exactly. I'm of two minds. I'm completely with you there. I don't think it's last long at all. Maybe 6 months.
It should last a long time, because I think it's interesting.
It is interesting.
I don't think it will.
And I'm kind of two minds, because I kind of think part of the fun of the Superman mythos is the Clark Kent thing, and the Daily Planet is such a vital part. But I think that you can still have the Daily Planet and still have Clark Kent without there being a secret identity. That could Superman could almost just be his nickname, But and it is, like you said, it's interesting, it's different, and there is a strong argument to be made that secret identities are kind of inherently impossible in the current era. But that being,
especially for a character who doesn't cover his face,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that in this era, it's an interesting story to tell. The interesting thing is going to be, is this the end of his civilian life? Is he just going to be Superman full time, or is he still going to try to have a regular civilian life with a wife and kid and all that stuff? I don't know. I haven't read the book, but it's certainly interesting. Not cutting edge, not breaking new ground or anything. It's going to be an oversold event like everything is these days, but could be an interesting story to tell. I think Bendis has got a good handle on how to write Superman, so pretty interesting. So we'll see where that all goes. Well, let's move from the printed page on to the big screen, and our boy James Gunn has officially announced the full cast of the Suicide Squad for Suicide Squad 2, and he posted this on Twitter with the caption, "Don't get too attached, Nick." So,
which is outstanding.
Yes. Okay, here's the cast. I'm just going to read them off in alphabetical order. David Dastmalchian, John Cena, Jay Courtney, Joaquin Cosio, Nathan Fillion, Joel Kinnaman, Mei Ling Ng, Flula Borg, Sean Gunn, Juan Diego Bato, Storm Reed, Pete Davidson, Taika Waititi, Alice Braga, Steve Agee, Tanashi Kajesi, I don't know if I said that right at all, Daniela Melchior, Peter Capaldi, Julio Ruiz, Jennifer Holland, Viola Davis, Idris Elba, Margot Robbie, and Michael Rooker. All right, so there's, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 4. How many of these individuals, Nick, these 24 individuals listed here, that's not 24 individuals. Mm-hmm. How many of these do you think make it?
Are going to make it to the end of the film?
Mm-hmm.
I'll go with, let's see, out of 24, I'll go with, 6.
6 make it through. Okay, let's take it.
That's what I'm going with. Yep.
Take a stab at which 6. I'm going to say Viola Davis and Margot Robbie.
A stab at the 6, okay. Yes, I'm going to say that Michael Rooker is safe.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I'm going to say... Okay, hold on. Let me look at the list again. I need to make it the list. Let's hold. This stupid Newsarama thing with its videos. Yeah, I'm going to say that Viola Davis, Idris Elba, Margot Robbie, and Michael Rooker, those 4 are safe. I think Jai Courtney makes it, and I'll go with David Dastmalchian as the Polka Dot Man making it as well.
Oh, interesting. All right, let me take my stab at it. I will say Davis and Robbie are 100%
yes.
safe. I will say...
Like we're having some technical difficulties. We will work through the technical difficulties.
I did not know we were having technical difficulties.
Yes.
I would say Davis, Elba, and Robbie are safe, and I would say let me see here. I think gosh, this is tough. I think Jay Courtney probably makes it through. And I'll say John Cena will make it through somehow. And
don't deny me this, Greg. Don't deny me this wonderful opportunity to finally see it. I need a Dane Cook and Mr. Brooks like scene.
What you need is a scene of
a
truck running or a car running over John Cena, and it actually working.
Yes, and it actually working. Yes,
and then I think Sean Gunn will survive.
Oh,
all right.
Interesting.
All right. Well, that's not all the movie news we have, because we do have a little bit of Marvel Cinematic Universe news to drop on the kind audience today. That news is that Robert Downey Jr. will reprise his role as Tony Stark / Iron Man in Marvel Studios' Black Widow. Let's see. No details have been given yet. This movie, according to reports, will be set between Civil War and Infinity War. So this would not require any resurrection.
So it kind of makes sense that he might pop up. Yeah.
A little bit.
And I'm imagining it'll be a very small role.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say that I'm not sure that this is how I would like to see him pop back up again, because I don't know that the emotional impact will be as strong in a Black Widow movie as it would if he popped up in, I don't know, a Captain America movie or something like that. But I'm not going to turn down any opportunity to see Robert Downey Jr. play Iron Man ever. So I'm okay with it. You don't. To be clear, I don't think that this is going to undermine the emotional impact of Endgame in any way. What about you?
Nor do I, because it's a prequel.
Yeah.
Like, it does not resurrect him. It does nothing. So I'm good with this.
Well, that's the end of the rundown, folks. That's all we got for you this week. We don't want to sell the folks at Marvel Comics short. I know they got a big event book coming up, but there's another murder mystery, I believe. But we don't know a lot of details about that one, so that's why we didn't bring it up. So, with that being said, let's move on to reading and watching.
Watching, what you been watching?
What you been watching?
I don't think I got anything, Nick. No, I do have something. I do have something for reading and watching. Okay, so I have viewed the first episode of the second season of Titans, which just premiered 2 weeks ago, and I echo what pretty much everyone has said about it. It is absolutely the season 1 finale. It's not a premiere of a new season. It's everything about
Then why did they do this?
No idea. It even the layout of the episode, Nick, like it ends with like them all going their separate ways and kind of riding off for a new adventure, like you would get at the end of a first season, right? The whole thing just obviously should have been the end of the first season. I have no idea why Warner Brothers made the choice to cut that episode and move it to the next season, because it doesn't fit at all where it's at. I will say that it feels like the end part was maybe added on, because we get our introduction to Deathstroke at the end of the episode, and we get our introduction to the Titans version of Bruce Wayne. So let me tackle these in order. First of all, I thought the episode itself was kind of mediocre. It wasn't that great. It was, it was picking up on a lot of the Trigun stuff from last year, which was up and down for me. And in this case, the CGI on Trigun was not good, in my opinion. And just in general, there was this plot where, almost like a video game, where she has to go through into people's subconscious to try to break them out of their spell that they're under. Didn't like that very much. The acting was really good. Deathstroke was awesome. The last 10 minutes of this episode are pretty much the introduction of Deathstroke and then the introduction of Bruce Wayne. Deathstroke was fantastic. I don't know the name of the actor who's playing Deathstroke right now, and I don't care to look it up. But he looks like Slade Wilson taken right off the comic book page. And the premise here is that he's been retired for some time, since the original Titans were together. And he's living off in a cabin with a beard and, doing his own thing. And then when he sees a news report that the Titans are back, thanks to Jason Todd running his mouth, he shaves, gets his stuff together, and goes and he meets what I'm assuming is the Titans version of Wintergreen, who hooks him up with his arsenal again. So that was really cool. The scene of Dick going back to Wayne Manor and meeting up with Bruce is a really good scene. I just don't like this Bruce Wayne at all. This guy is too old, and not just old, but like he's not old and grizzled. Like he's not an old and grizzled Bruce Wayne. He's an old Bruce Wayne that looks like he's lived in a mansion for 50 years and not gone outside and done anything. He doesn't look physical. He doesn't look threatening at all. He doesn't look haggard from his years of being a soldier, and he talks so stilted in a very like ritzy, old money kind of way. Like, I am pleased that you have come here, Dick. I wasn't sure that you should have made it such a trip. Things like that, saying shall in sentences. You shall come inside now. It's just very stilted, in my opinion. That said, while I didn't like this version of Bruce, at least yet, I thought the scene with Bruce and Dick was really good and puts them on really good terms moving forward, including a nice little exchange that you'd probably appreciate, Nick, where Dick asks Bruce to give him one of his safe houses in San Francisco to set up a new version of the Titans, and Bruce is unsure about it. Then he goes, actually, yes, but on one condition, and the condition is that Dick has to take Jason off of his hands. So that's pretty funny.
That's good.
But overall, it left it in a very good manner, and I'm excited to see the show moving forward. I just cannot, for the life of me, understand that decision to not just tack this on to the end of season 1 where it belonged.
Good to hear. I plan on catching up at some point. I just don't know when that's going to be right now, as you know.
Right. Well, with that being said, that's all I got for reading and watching. Let's move on to... Oh my goodness, look at the time. I'm looking at the clock on my computer right now, and it says that it's time. The Wrestling Minute. Boy, what a huge week.
And I feel like, to start with, we'll have a lot more to say next week, even more so than we do this week, because as we record this, we're a few hours away from the USA Network debut of WWE NXT.
Absolutely. This is a huge night, a huge week for wrestling. And we're going to get an hour of NXT on the USA Network. We're going to get an hour of it on the WWE Network. We're also coming off the heels of the Clash of the Champions pay-per-view, which was kind of up and down. Not one of the stronger efforts from the company, but not bad. I mean, I thought the main event was good. I thought the Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch match stole the show 100%. Certainly the only match I would probably revisit again in the future. And then had an up and down Raw that had a great ending with The Fiend, former Troy student Bray Wyatt. And then SmackDown was really strong this week. So I think overall things are looking up this week in the world of wrestling, and pretty soon we'll have AEW to add into the weekly schedule, Nick. Wow.
Absolutely. It's been a very exciting week. And again, a lot more to say after the fallout from the first episode of NXT on next week's Wrestling Minute.
And I want to hear you say one thing for me, Nick.
What's that?
I want to hear you say the words, "All hail King Corbin."
All hail King Corbin. I mean, I have no choice after hearing your effusive praise over the last several weeks.
Love it.
Greg Phillips has become the world's biggest Baron Corbin fan.
Oh, here we go.
Anyone who dares to say a bad thing about Corbin gets a social media lashing from Greg Phillips.
Lord. The typical hyperbolic response from Nick Duke. I show a guy a little love for improving his game, for stepping up, and the guy has stuck in the past.
Has two good matches, and Greg is now he's turned around. He's really improved.
He has. He's improved. He's been better for the last month. Where have you been? Had 3 good matches in the last month. Thank you very much. And I'm not going to be like you, who it took 3 years to figure out that John Cena was a good pro wrestler. Why don't you go to a Raw and just start chanting, "You can't wrestle"?
I might just do that. Where's the next Raw that's close to me?
I don't know. Probably in Shreveport, Louisiana, I bet.
That's not close to me.
I don't know. I guess close to us would be somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. So
it's true.
Keep that in mind. And other than that, the only other thing that Daniel Bryan is a babyface now, I guess. What are your thoughts for it?
I'm gonna wait and see if he winds up being a babyface full time, but I'm for it. He was a good heel. He's a good babyface as well. And SmackDown will probably need some faces with the Fox debut impending. Plus, we don't know if he's even going to be on SmackDown. He might wind up back on Monday Night Raw.
Draft coming up, Nick. Not the Superstar Shake.
We know it's coming up. No, an actual draft, but we will have to discuss that more in depth as we get closer and it actually happens.
Oh, and one thing that we've got to talk about, because this is unrelated to the Wrestling Minute, but I know people are thrilled to know about our fantasy football standings for the year. Let's talk about how that's going right now.
Average. It's going average, I would say. Yeah. What would you say?
I would say not very well, Nick. I would say not very well at all. I am sitting at 0-2, and I got to be honest with you, things aren't looking up. Things are not looking up for my team right now. I've got a mismatch of players. Baker Mayfield can't get his head on right, it seems. And then I just don't have a very strong. There's just no getting around it. I don't have a strong roster this year, Nick, and I don't think it's going to end well for the old prestige show. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm sitting in 4th right now out of 12 teams, and Greg, of course, is sitting in dead last out of 12 teams.
God, so dead last.
There you are.
You're long form. It's a long season. Anyway, we're going to move on from that to the end of the show. So, what do we have coming up the rest of this month? Well, that's a great question. Next week, we are going to be giving you a Longbook Hunters episode. Delving into a topic we've never touched before on the Hard-Traveling Fanboys, the Legion of Superheroes. That's right, Nick and I are going to read our very first Legion of Superheroes story, and it will be the Great Darkness Saga, as voted upon by the listening audience. We are going to be reviewing this story
after Greg Phillips ran a third-party candidate and split the damn Jeff Johns vote and and got us into reading the Great Darkness saga.
Yeah.
Smooth move, Greg.
Well, we'll have to see how it turns out, Nick. I can't deny that was a mistake in hindsight. I shouldn't have done it. It was a flash decision. I didn't know that there were enough choices. And perhaps we'll live to regret it, but perhaps we won't. Paul Levitz and company, Keith Giffen involved in this one, so we're going to give it a look-see over this next week, and we'll let you know next week what we thought of it, good, bad, or indifferent. And other than that, I don't know what else we have. Is that the last show of the month, Nick, or is there another one?
That, I believe, is the last show of the month, and then the next time we will be with you, it will officially be, after that, it will be Walking Dead month.
Yep. Got a litany of interesting episodes lined up for that, I'm sure, and I know both of us are looking forward to resuming our reading of the Walking Dead comic book, and we'll probably have some guests on throughout the month, so we will let you know an update on that. Well, Nick, it's been a good one. I'll have to see you and talk to you at a later time, folks. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
Wait, Greg. Wait.
More?
Don't try to sign us off just yet. We have to close the show as we do each and every week now with a little musical number from good old J.R. Jim Ross. And as you heard earlier in the show, we are in the midst of the Place to Be Nation greatest song of the 80s tournament. So I thought it would be a good time to check in with that tournament and say goodbye to one of my favorite songs of the 80s from one of my favorite bands, a little band called Aerosmith, or as David Sunday would say, Aerosmith, who just had one of their songs bounce from the tournament. And we want to give some love to that song by letting good old JR do his own personal spin on it. So, Jim, take it away.
Well, it goes a little something like this. Dude looks like a lady. Dude looks like a lady. Dude looks like a lady. Oh yeah, dude looks like a lady.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before I was so rudely interrupted with a commercial break, we're going to conduct this interview right now. And in just a couple of moments, I want to bring Big Daddy Cool Diesel and Razor Ramon right out here.
Cruised into a bar on the shore. Her picture graced the grime on the door. She's a long-lost love at first bite. Baby, maybe you are wrong, but you know it is all right. That's right.
And when I'm through telling you, many of you are going to question my loyalty.
Backstage with Cowboy in Mid-South, we're having the time of our lives until somebody says, "Forgive me if I seem out of line." Then Harley showed up and whipped out a gun and tried to blow Hogan away. 'Cause dude looks like a lady. Dude looks like a lady. Dude looks like a lady. Well, that's right now. Dude looks like a lady. Well, I said never judge a book by its cover. The exotic Adrian Street could whip a man's ass no matter how much makeup or perfume he may have been wearing. Or who you gonna love by your lover. Love me put wise to her love in disguise. She had the body of a Venus. Lord, imagine my surprise. The dude looks like a lady. The dude looks like a lady. Now, the dude looks like a lady. You can ask Mark Henry about this situation. We had a storyline where he saw somebody that was a dude who looked like a lady.
Baby, let me follow you down.
Now let me take a peek, dear.
Baby, let me follow you down.
Do me all night.
Baby,
Oh
let me
yeah.
follow you down.
Now turn the other ass cheek, dear.
Baby, let me follow you down.
Do me.
I don't think anybody here is going to disagree that I'm the best play-by-play man in the whole damn business. So I show up for work the first day at WrestleMania 9 in Las Vegas, Nevada, and they give me a sheet to wear. They said, oh, it's going to be a toga. You'll look good in a toga, JR. I lead the National Football League for a toga. It's crap. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I go to the first King of the Ring in Dayton, Ohio, and I guarantee you, I carried the broadcast.
What a flash funky lady. Oh, she liked it. She liked it. She liked it. She liked it. Oh, she was a lady. Baby, let me follow you down. Dude looks like a lady. Dude looks like a lady. Dude looks like... Folks, I'm repeating myself at this point. I'm beating the point into the ground. But the point that I'm trying to get to, and this is something that Jim Barnett told me a long time ago about this business. He sat me down. Dusty was there. Cowboy was there. Leroy McGurk was there. Blind man. Drove me around a lot. And they looked him in the eyes. He looked them in the eyes. And he said, in regards to the exotic Adrian Street, he said, this dude looks like a lady.
Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys.